Good afternoon. My name is Sandra, and the location I picked for today's topic is Fort Moultrie. It's located in the harbor outside of Charleston, South Carolina. As you can see on the agenda there, we'll talk about its history during the Revolutionary War, and then we'll touch on some of the highlights of it after the Revolutionary War until today, and then why it's important. You can also see on the screen the bibliography, some of the sources that I used for this. So I picked this site because it's fairly close to where I live in North Carolina. And I also think Charleston has a fascinating history, but despite having visited there quite a few times, I still have yet to see Fort Moultrie. So I'm hoping that this will inspire me to go visit there next time I'm in the area. So first of all, I just want to touch on the fact that Fort Moultrie is one of a series of forts in the same location. You can see on the map there, it is located on the tip of Sullivan's Island, and right across from it is Fort Sumter, and then throughout the bay, there's a variety of batteries that were built up over the years. And then Fort Moultrie itself is a succession of forts that have been built on top of each other. Essentially, it's gone through waves of falling into ruins and then being rebuilt over and over again. So the first Fort Moultrie dates back to January 1776. During this time, the British had yet to attack the southern colonies. Colonel William Moultrie was stationed here on Sullivan's Island and tasked with building up this place. He wanted to make it big enough for about 1,000 troops. And then on June 28th, the British attacked Charleston under a naval force. They had 2 50-gun ships, 5 frigates, and then 4 other ships with 270 guns. Simultaneously, Sir Henry Clinton tried to land a ground force into Charleston. So throughout this, Fort Moultrie was able to withstand the barrage from the naval forces while simultaneously holding off the landing of the ground forces, and eventually won the battle. The end result was that 17 Americans were killed and 20 wounded, and 115 British were killed and 64 wounded. Additionally, one of their ships was so badly damaged they had to sink it, and the others were damaged enough that they decided to halt the attack and withdraw back to New York. And the result was that the British were not able to take Charleston until 1780, so they held them off for another 4 years based on this victory. And then one famous story I want to mention that came out of this involves Sergeant Jasper and the flag. During the middle of the battle, it said that the flagpole was damaged and the flag fell to the ground. So Sergeant Jasper ran out under heavy fire, grabbed the flag, came back and made a makeshift flagpole, and then flew it over the fort, pretty much bolstering the morale of everybody and helping them to continue fight and go on to victory. Sergeant Jasper himself became quite famous throughout the war, and there's actually a monument to him in one of the squares in Savannah, Georgia. So after the Revolutionary War, the fort fell into ruins. People began to use it as a summer resort. But soon after that, they built a second fort on its location. That one was badly damaged, so they built a third fort on its location. A notable resident there was Edgar Allan Poe. He was stationed there in 1827. And it said that one of his stories, called The Gold Bug, was set in this location, which is about hunting pirate treasure. It fell into ruins again and then was built back up during the Civil War. It was involved in many key battles during that. And then you can see from the image on the screen that it was quite badly damaged during the war, pretty much fell completely into ruins. After that, it was built up, fell into ruins a few separate times, until the early 1900s when the government invested $40 million in the region, building up Fort Sumter, Fort Moultrie, and the number of batteries around there, as well as the seawalls, and then even outfitting it for defensive forces during World War II. After World War II, in 1960, it was handed over to the National Park Service. And that brings me into today. I believe it would be a really good site to visit, hopefully. Hopefully I'll find out someday. Pretty much because what they've done is restored different portions of it to a different era of American history. So there's portions that look like they would have during the Revolutionary War, and then portions that would have looked like they did during Civil War and World War II, etc. So for those of us that like to be experientially learning, this would be a great place to get an idea of military tactics and military defenses during the different eras of American history. Beyond that, I also think it represents both the highs and the low of our own history. So we have some great heroic stories that came out of the Revolutionary War, but then it also represents the destruction and the heartbreak that happened during the Civil War. So hopefully I'll make it out there soon. If any of you guys have been there before, please let me know how it is and if you have any stories from there. But that's it for today. Thank you.